Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are. And this afternoon, we'll begin with the industrial action by the Teju, that's the Tertiary Education Workers Union, because we understand that the Legon chapter there have not heeded the directive from the National Executive to suspend its industrial action. Manuel Cranton is at Legon campus and joins us more. He is with the president of the chapter there and joins us live with an update. Manuel, what are the reasons being cited for the refusal to suspend the industrial action?
Well, so we're told by the Senior Staff Association, Universities of Ghana, that they have been trying for a while to get government to deal with their issues, particularly on their Tier 2 pensions. You remember that sometime in 2020, the association invoked certain articles within its constitution to embark on an industrial action. But they have to suspend that because the National Labour Commission actually secured an injunction from the High Court, which barred them from continuing the industrial action. Well, you remember also that on 13th January 2021, they served notice that in 7 days they were going to, resume that strike, and that's the 7 days notice ended yesterday. And today, across various university campuses in Ghana, the senior staffers have laid down their tools and essentially are protesting the sort of what they describe as lack of government commitment to dealing with their service, their conditions of service benefits, particularly their Tier 2 pensions and some other allowances which are due them. So that's the picture. And in fact, across the campus, University of Ghana, with that I have been monitoring for a while, very key offices are not, working. And some of the students, and currently I'm standing at the JQB accounts office of the University of Ghana, where essentially all the students come to get their accounts cleared and so on and so forth. And with the indication that schools have resumed, most of the students are trying to pay their fees and so on and so forth. So they've been asked to wait because we're told the finance department is getting some clearance from the hierarchy whether or not they are supposed to be part of the strike. Indeed, you have the majority of the staff in the university being members of this particular association. They comprise of senior administrators, senior account officers, and so on, research assistants, and all of this. So, they suspending their operations in the university almost cripples the operations of the university.
Absolutely, Manuel, and we'll talk more about the effect of this industrial action. But just for purposes of clarity, we had the national body call off the strike. Legon chapter of Teju is saying that they do not agree with the decision taken by their leaders. And what exactly will they want their leaders to do? Hello, Manuel, can you hear me?
There are two different groups in the University of Ghana which are currently, on strike. And so, yes, there's a Teju situation which we're told by the National Association that they're supposed to have called the strike a couple of days back. But the University of Ghana local chapter maintains that it's not going to suspend the strike until all their grievances are addressed. And so, indeed, apart from the Teju group that is on strike, the University of Ghana chapter of the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana is joining all other local chapters across the country to embark on another strike. So there are two different groups that are striking here at the University of Ghana, the senior staffers and then the Teju group also. And all of them and their operations go to the very core of the functionality of the university. And just as you know, and you NS came to University of Ghana, so you know this place very well. This is the accounts office, and we're told that they're supposed to suspend operations. In fact, there's a notice here on the door of the accounts office which indicates that there's an indefinite industrial action that has been called by the Senior Staff Association of of the university. Good thing for at least those in the queue here is that they have been assured that just because they got here before the notice was posted, they will be attended to before the action takes full force here at the university. So I mean, it's quite a dire situation at the University of Ghana. Two different groups, Teju and then the Senior Staff Association. Fortunately, I've been able to catch up with the local chairman of the UG chapter of the Senior Staff Association of University of Ghana. Let me just quickly speak to him. Mr. Francis Ofu, grateful for your time here on Joy News. You're embarking on this strike. I mean, your colleagues in Teju have already suspended their actions, their operations on the University of Ghana campus, and then you add yours. That's almost crippling the university. You won't say so?
Please, are you sure Teju has suspended a strike?
Well, I'm saying that they've suspended their operations in the University of Ghana. Of course, then the national group says that they are supposed to suspend, but UG local does not agree, and it's on strike. You're also joining. That's like double jeopardy for the university, no?
It's not on making. It's a making of the management, and let alone the government. Because we've written to the government to address these concerns, but they are not addressing the concern. That's why they rather push us to this wall. Okay. We don't want to go on strike because students just arrive. They just arrive. But government being insensitive, excuse my language, if they have addressed our issues, we don't have been got into this place.
Interesting that you make the point. We know that in 2020, when you called that initial, strike, the National Labour Commission got an injunction to bar you from proceeding on that action. Indeed, they had made some points about an illegal industrial action which you were embarking on. Well, this is not any different from what we saw last year. Still illegal, no?
Thank you very much, my brother. We've written to National Labour Commission our intention to go on strike, and they've not responded. So it means
that's when
8 days ago. Yes, on the 13th of this month. They've not responded. So it means they want us to go on strike. Okay. Yes, that's to me, that's what I've seen.
Earlier in 2020, you made a point that the National Labour Commission was being unfair to you and was, as it were, constricting you in your operations. They didn't want you to function well. Do you sense, and maybe I should put that question, do you sense any attempt to, oppress or suppress your actions? Because to go on strike is your right, and they got an injunction to stop you.
Let me let this one clear. Last year, we respected the Labour Commission in the sense that we are not having a bargaining certificate. And truly, we are not having it at that time. So we had to suspend a strike. Because when we went, they asked, do you have the bargaining certificate? We said no. Then why are you on strike? Now, God so being good, we had the bargaining certificate on the 14th of December. So now we have the power to negotiate with the government. And we're ready to fair wages to negotiate. And they are not calling us to negotiate.
Take us through exactly the request that you're making.
One is to review our condition of service. Since 2008, condition of service are only reviewed for the senior staff. We've written to Fair Wages and Salary Commissions to sit so that we negotiate and review the condition of service.
And so that is the president of the Legon chapter of Teju that's interacting with my colleague Manuel Krante. We'll bring you more on this. We'll later speak to the administration because, as you heard him there, they have been invited for a meeting. We'll find out how all of this pans out, plus the Labour Commission, whether or not indeed they have written to them about these industrial actions happening at the University of Ghana. Let me take you now to Parliament, and Parliament will later today debate for approval of a motion asking the president to suspend the payment of fees by tertiary students as a COVID-19 relief package. Now, the NPP caucus yesterday objected to the motion moved by the Boko Central MP Mahama Yarga, describing it as incompetent and flawed because the president does not have the power to do that. Now, the Speaker overruled the preliminary objection but postponed a full debate to today. The first motion has asked for the suspension of the admission fees, but a new rendition read by Mr. Yarga on the floor asks for the suspension of fees generally for both new students and continuing students. Joseph Opoga plays our man in Parliament and joins us live. Joseph, the Speaker directed the leaders of the two sides to agree on which specific fee the motion should apply before the motion itself is debated today. Do we know if any agreement has been reached?
From how we gather, no such agreement has actually been reached. Let me quote to you the second motion that Mr. Yarega read on the floor. It's a motion that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by new entrants into public tertiary institutions and fees of continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of the COVID-19 emergency relief programs being implemented by government. So this is supposed to cover virtually all fees. In fact, on the floor, Mr. Yarega listed about 17 different fees, including the academic user facility fee, as well as tuition fee. And in his request, the indication he gave is that all of those are what he's asking that the House actually considers suspending, which the NPP side disagrees on, and the details are supposed to be fixed. But from what we've gathered, no such agreement has been reached, and the indication is that if care is not taken on the floor of the House, the rendition requesting that all fees generally be suspended is what Mr. Yarega will eventually move for.
Because there's been an amendment of the initial motion, did you get an indication from the NPP caucus that that will be an issue they would raise as preliminary before the proper debate on the floor?
The hint I'm getting from the NPP side is that they are most likely going to back the new motion and then insist that the specifics in terms of which areas should be taken off with the fees, in terms of what specifically government is willing and ready to absorb, will then be included. That's an amendment of a sort they may end up seeking to Mr. Yarega's motion, including requesting that there is the introduction of clauses like some fees, and then a subsequent attachment will detail those specific fees. And it will be based on that the NPP side will eventually support the motion for the necessary approval. Except that on the NDC side, the argument they're making is that the specifics on the fees that should be taken up by government is something that they think the executive should work out with Vice Chancellors Ghana and the managers of the various tertiary institutions, rather than Parliament spelling out those specifics.
Joseph, stay with me. We'll come back to find out what happens when the House resumes at 2 p.m. But I want us to listen to the Honourable Member for Boko Central, Mama Yarega.
That with your leave, the new rendition of the motion will be as follows. The Speaker, by your leave and the leave of the House, Mr. Speaker, the rendition now will be that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by new entrants into public tertiary education institutions and fees of continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by.
So that's the Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mama Yarega, reading out the new rendition of the motion, which will be debated later today. Joseph, what happens when the House resumes at 2 p.m.?
Mr. Yarega will be given the opportunity to go ahead and give out the full details of the new motion as contained. Once that is done, then the House will open for full debate. We will hear from the NPP side on it and also other NDC MPs. After that, leaders on two sides will conclude the debate. It will be put to a voice vote first. If there is an agreement on whether there is victory for the motion or otherwise, then that gets approved. If there is no such clear indication with the voice vote, then the House may go ahead and count ballots as far as the voting is concerned. And then if approval is given, then that resolution would go to the executive, which would be binding to a large extent. But if it gets rejected, then no such resolution goes to the executive.
Joseph, many thanks for bringing us the update on that important motion to be debated later today in Parliament. We'll get back to you once that debate gets underway. Still on parliamentary issues, the National Peace Council is today defending its silence on the matters relating to the no representation in Parliament for citizens in the SAL area. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of a 2020 election reflection series organized by the council, board chairman of the Peace Council, Reverend Ernest Dr. Edu Jemfi, said their silence on such issues were the result of background consultations, dealings with the institutions to address such issues. Kweku Asante joins us live with more on this. Kweku, exactly what form of consultations have the Peace Council been having, which they speak of at this news conference?
Right, Ernest. So according to the board chairman of the National Peace Council, they've been talking to the Peace Council for a while now about this particular issue. And it's not necessarily that they are silent on all the issues that are happening with regards to the SAL constituencies. And so according to the Peace Council chairman, the board chairman, the Electoral Commission, I beg your pardon, has assured them that they are going to lay before Parliament the CI that will create the new constituency for the SAL areas. But of course, we all know that even if these constituencies are created at this point in time, they will not come into effect under this Parliament because of rules that say that if that is done, the Parliament or the seat that is created should take effect in the next Parliament. And so it will be left to see how much justice this will be for the people of SAL areas. But the Peace Council chair, whose council had come under some criticisms for not talking about some of these issues, has been saying that for them, they don't see the media or press conferences and press releases as the only way to deal with issues of national concern. And so for most times, what they do is to deal in the background with some of these institutions who are involved and ensure that they find out the right ways to deal with them. Ernest.
Did they say if they've been engaging the residents themselves, because there have been agitation in some parts of those areas with a number of protests, did they say if they've been engaging them?
Right, that aspect did not come up. The board chairman did not say that, but given what he's just been saying, will probably suggest that they've been doing some background conversation. They've been having some background conversations with the people. I don't know about that yet, but I think even if something of that sort had gone on, the SAL leaders would have come out to say that. But the SAL areas leaders have maintained that a grave injustice has been done to them, that the 8th Parliament will conclude its lifetime without anyone representing their interest or representing the kind of thing that matters to them. But according to the
Well, we lost that feed there from my colleague Kweku Asante, but essentially the Peace Council has been engaging to make sure that the issues of SAL are addressed. And let me bring you some stories now on COVID-19. Doctors treating COVID-19 patients in Ghana say they are worried about the severity of recent cases on their hands. Now, the number of severe coronavirus cases are on a sharp rise, many in critical condition and needing assistance before they can breathe. Today, the Joy News Health Desk takes you to the Ghana East Hospital, where COVID-19 patients there are battling for their lives. Matilda Gavi has more.
Inside the high dependency unit of the Ghana East Hospital, very critically ill COVID-19 patients are being attended to. 4 patients are battling for a second chance to live. Every beep from these ventilators speaks volume. Some sick person living on, or a life gradually slipping out of time.
A lot of cases here, we do lose some of them. So it's better to be in the comfort of your home than being in an ICU.
Linda, not her real name, is no longer in the ICU. She's recovering from COVID-19 under very strict supervision. Before she tested positive, she was very mindful of adhering to the safety protocols until she let her guard down at a family gathering.
I used to call myself the COVID police until the police caught me. It took care for until one day.
One day? Where did you go?
No. Just family.
Oh.
Family, yes.
And it happened to you?
Yes, it did.
Grandma Ife stayed away from all public places, stayed home with the family, but got infected.
My grandchildren were for a party, and after the party they swam. So when they came to me, I think 2 days later, the big granddaughter was having some symptoms. By then I didn't know the symptom. My eyes was like a running nose. Then later when I saw that she was getting temperature, so we rushed her to the pharmacy if it's malaria. Then the pharmacist told us that it's not, but he just gave us some first aid. But when we came on the following day, I said, no, let's go to Nogochi. So the little one was coming closer to me. So I think after 4 days, I also started feeling a bit throat itching. But I didn't take it serious. I just went to do my concussion and I drank and it was over. Then 3 days later, that this thing will hit me.
Wow.
I kept vomiting. My son said, no, Mommy, you have got COVID. Let's go to the district hospital.
So what happened to your grandchildren? Where are they?
They went to Nogochi and they were all tested positive. So they have their own hospital they go to.
A total of 62 COVID-19 patients are receiving care here, but the severity of their condition is a source of concern to health workers. Dr. Ebenezer Ojo-Mensah is the medical superintendent at the Ga East Hospital.
We think more people are ill now than last year, and the severity of the illness has increased compared to what we were seeing last year. And this can't be due to chance. So if a new variant
what exactly is accounting for what we are seeing now?
Well, this coincides with the worldwide pattern of increased severity of COVID-19 across the world. If you look at most countries, UK, Germany, etc., they are more or less closing up now because they have more ill patients on admission. If you listen to international news, and that's exactly what we are experiencing now. And it has been acknowledged that the new variant is in country, including the South African variant as well. And these are known to cause more severe disease. So since we've had quite a few of our compatriots coming over the holidays, we believe that one way or the other, the new variant has found itself into the country and could be contributing to the severity of the disease we are currently seeing. That does not mean the old variant is not there. It's still there. It's still causing illness and disease. But when you compare the severity now to what we had earlier, we believe something has changed.
COVID-19 is real and the cases are on the rise. Please stay safe. The acting registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Divine Banyubala, says the mothers of 2 of the babies rescued from a baby stealing syndicate have been reached. Now, this will allow for them to be reunited. Before we hear from him, the Economic and Organized Crime Office arrested 11 members of a baby harvesting and trafficking syndicate in the Greater Accra region. In a joint operation with the Medical and Dental Council, IOCO picked up doctors, nurses, social welfare workers, and traditional birth attendants who operated in various hospitals in the Greater Accra region, where they traded babies using a highly sophisticated modus operandi. John East's Manuel Cranton was embedded in one of such operations to arrest a member of the syndicate at the Tema General Hospital. And here's his report.
On the morning of 31st December 2020, the last day of the year, as many people prepared to bid farewell to one year and welcome another, somewhere at the Tema General Hospital within the Tema metropolis, a baby was about seeing the last of his biological mother. In motion on that fateful day was the sale of a 1-month-old baby boy by an organized baby selling cartel. This syndicate is made up of several people, including doctors, nurses, and social welfare officers, among others, all of whom are entrusted with the responsibility of providing assistance to mothers and their newly born babies. Their operations had been on the radar of the Medical and Dental Council for a while, and today the council has teamed up with the officers from Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, to foil one of such illegal transactions. The Connect, Leonard Able, an officer at the head office of the Department of Social Welfare, had already taken 10,000 Ghana cedis as a deposit for the baby, who he was selling at 28,000 Ghana cedis from a woman in need of a baby, not knowing she was an undercover officer with IOCO. The Joy News team was embedded in the operation and filmed from a distance as Mr. Able went to collect the baby and accompanied the female undercover officer to a vehicle. This was the point of arrest. Leonard Able was arrested and the baby retrieved. On-site interrogations revealed Mr. Able was not alone. His accomplices, a nurse, only identified as Nancy, and the head of the social welfare at the hospital, also referred to as Auntie Doris, had heard of the arrest and immediately bolted.
I've called her several times, but she's not picking up, so I keep on calling. I don't know what to do.
What is her name? What is her surname? There's a woman who left in the car, in the taxi.
She left in the taxi?
Yes. They gave money that I should go and pay them.
Okay, so what's the evidence that you paid?
Oh, so the woman said that. Which woman? Nancy said that she had done adoption before. And she said that she had somebody, she has a baby, an abandoned baby here. Doris said she had an abandoned baby here. You get me? So I should assist her in the baby is there. Somebody, if we have somebody.
Not even a call from the medical director of the facility could get them to return.
Can you come right away to my office? The General Hospital, Director's office. Yes. 1 hour's time.
The entire morning went by with the arrested suspect pleading for mercy as he sent the team on a wild goose chase from one facility to the other in search of his other accomplices.
Yes, but the way my name, my this thing, I beg you. Help me, I beg you.
Yes. So
help me.
I'm asking.
Can you go help me?
They give you money. They give you money. Did you take your money?
They give money that I should go and pay them.
Okay.
The day ended with one arrest as the task force worked other leads to effect more arrests. For Joy News, Manuel.
Now, the two babies rescued are to be reunited with their families soon. Here's the acting registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Divine Bunyabala, speaking to Gift Under appear on the AM show.
Yes, as you will imagine, the babies are in our custody.
The babies, not a baby.
No, they are babies. Because there's one baby we bought at Susan Clinic, and we bought another one that was from Dangbe Community Hospital that was delivered to us in Tema General Hospital. Wow. So there are two baby boys that are in our custody, and we are taking care of the babies. In fact, one of them was determined to have been a preterm baby, and we have gotten the best pediatricians in the country to take good care of them. We have opened up what we will call weighing cabs for the purposes of the lay persons that may be watching us and listening. And so they are taking their immunization. We have put them on their right immunization schedules. And then we have 24/7 care providers that are taking very good care of the babies. We are working together with Yoko to have the babies properly transferred into the custody of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection under the Social Welfare Department, so that the babies would then be taken care of for the time being as the wards of the state.
That means we don't know, we haven't been able to trace their parents.
Not exactly. We have been able to trace both mothers, but to the extent that we have not been yet able to trace their fathers, then that statement is half true. But the fact is that we have been able to trace a parent each of the two boys, in this case, the mothers.
Okay.
You know, the 44-year-old woman whose baby went missing at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital on February 5, 2014, wants the law to deal severely with baby stealing syndicates arrested in Accra. Abdul Munim Suweba believes if the law deals with them squarely, it will deter others. It's been 7 years since Suweba's baby went missing. She ever believes her child is still alive and wants whoever has her to reconnect with the family.
me ba no e a omo se me ba no ewu omo fa funu ma me so ai funu ebe kai ne 7 years me nsa anka me ba no me nsa anka me ba no funu enti de bia me to a na ye me ti se me ba no wu ye wote ase enti me kai na me wura wo se amama wo na chi kura na chi 1st April na akola no ono so benya 4 years enti me pacho bebia me ba ne hye bia nyankopo enyi na di enkyere me afise me ba na asem wo makoma mu pa de bia me ka me ba na ase me kai pa me kai na ntimi na kra ntimi pacho mo a mo di se adwuma yi me pacho me stre wo mo se me ba no wo ti ase a omo ma me sanka ma adi me studa ese me ban e wo me nche telebio a me sori so ana me hu no efisake to anu woni me nche o ne nana ne nche telebio na me se me ban da me nche me yesi so ana me hu me twenu pa me sa so no hu da ye pa omo be ye ko nkran sa omo se ye ko kan wa se me ye ko nkran de bia e di akwane aba me ne me wofa eni masi eni me kunu nkrofo eni me brothers se woni o ye friend say o Brazil omo nyina na ya ko na ya ba omo si na omo hye date ye kwa de bia e kire asema omo be ka kire last asema ya awre o sempa omo si e betimi aye mfa konfa nochi en court ye we sky de be konfa nochi be court.
You're watching News Today with me, Ernest Mene. We're taking a short break. When we return, we'll bring you business and tell you about Ghana's oil reserves, which is left with about 2.5 billion barrels to be produced if new oil discoveries are not made. Daryl Call has the latest after this break. Stay with us.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Ghana's oil reserves are left with about 2.5 billion barrels more to be produced if new oil discoveries are not made. This represents about 86% of total oil reserves here in the country. There's more in this report.
According to Fitch Solutions, only about 400 million barrels of oil so far been produced from the Jubilee and Tane fields since the country began oil production in the year 2011. This signifies ample opportunity for Ghana's upstream oil production. However, ongoing technical issues at both fields provide some risks to the country's oil production potential. Previous issues have meant output at the Jubilee and Tane fields is currently capped at 70% of maximum floating production, storage and offload capacity. Nonetheless, Tullow Oil's recent focus on improving water injection efficiency and optimizing wells is set to enhance the field's output over Fitch Solutions forecast period. This raises the prospect of increasing recoverable reserves at both the Jubilee and Tane fields. There are currently 49 injection and production wells at Jubilee and Tane fields planned between 2021 and 2030, with each production well projected to have an initial production rate of 10 to 15,000 barrels per day. Despite the company's ambitions, it is unlikely all wells will reach the desired initial production rates over the planned period, given the decline rates at the field. At the moment, the nation is still awaiting a boost from the Pecan field, which is expected to come on stream in 2025.
Now, Ghana's interest payment is projected to hit almost 50% of government revenue this year. That's according to international ratings agency Moody's Sub-Saharan Africa Outlook report. Charles Nixon Yeboah has more.
Interest payments, which is interest paid on loans in 2020, was estimated to have constituted about 32% of government revenue. This actually makes the nation number one in sub-Saharan Africa that spends chunk of its revenue to pay interest on borrowed monies. Spending large revenue to settle interest costs would deprive the nation the needed finance for other socio-economic projects such as schools and hospitals. Moody's said refinancing risk will increase in the coming years, particularly 2024 and 2025 as Eurobond maturities approach. However, Eurobond maturities will be relatively small this year and next year. Ghana first went to the international capital market in 2007 to raise $750 million at a cost of 8.50%. It has since been borrowing funds via the Eurobond. Moody's pointed out that in 2024 and 2025, Ghana alongside Zambia and South Africa will have large Eurobond maturities, and therefore gross borrowing requirements and liquidity risk will remain elevated into the medium term even as the economic recovery continues. The Finance Ministry had earlier projected that interest payment will fall by nearly 1.6 billion cedis to about 24.7 billion cedis this year.
In other news, Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Quartey, is optimistic the economy grew by as much as 2% last year. The economy recorded a recession in the third quarter of the year, largely due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on many subsectors. But Professor Quartey is confident economic recovery has been fairly good and its impact to be seen in the fourth quarter GDP figures.
Access to credit for some of these firms is a problem. Because the cost of credit is high. It's quite recently that it's come below 20% thereabout, but it's around 32%. And what kind of business can you do that you'll be able to recover your cost and then also pay 32% on it as well, and so on and so forth. But then luckily these days, we've had other schemes that are supporting agro-processing. So GESA, for instance, gives 70% credit guarantee to firms within the sector. Once that guarantee is given, any of the banks are willing to lend to you. There's also credit guarantee scheme. There's also the CAPBUS, that is the Coronavirus Alleviation Fund that is being run by National Board for Small Scale Industry. So these are all things that are to help promote industrial production, agro-processing, etc. We saw that we had a positive, significant growth in the first quarter of 2020. Then second and third quarter, we had a recession. But then it's easing off gradually. My expectation will be that we'll record some positive growth rates in the last quarter because we've gradually opened up the economy, and quite recently, last quarter of this year, and quite recently we've seen more opening up of the economy. So with tourism and other things picking up gradually, we are likely to see some growth, positive growth rates. So my anticipation will be for us to grow in the range of 2% on average for 2020, and I'm quite optimistic we may be hovering around that figure.
All right, the small business news at the top of the hour. Sports is up next.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the sports segment on Joy News today. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Ghana League Clubs Association, they are deciding their leadership currently at the Accra Sports Stadium. We are crossing over now to speak to my colleague Mubarak Haruna, who has been monitoring happenings at the stadium since morning. Mubarak, if you can hear me, just give us a brief overview of what has been happening since you got there around 10 a.m.
Yeah, Mufta, I don't know if you can hear me, but just look up behind and you can see our 112 delegates who have arrived here at the Accra Sports Stadium to elect their chairman, the vice chairman position, the premiership rep, the Division 1 rep, and of course the Division 2 rep. They are done with the voting. What is currently happening is the counting. They are counting with regards to the votes cast at the moment. But earlier on, what happened was that the women fraternity were unable to elect their rep on the GACA Executive Council because there are two candidates in Anita and Edna have all attained 8 votes, 2 consecutive rounds. And so because of that, they were unable to elect a rep, a women rep on the Galka Executive Council. So what the electoral body have decided to do is that the incoming executive board of the Galka positions will now decide on what to do with regards to the women's rep. So currently that is what is happening here at the Accra Sports Stadium, Muftau.
Mubarak, when I came there some moments ago, I picked intel that some of the clubs registered their delegates late because the deadline that was given out to these clubs was January 11. However, some of them submitted their list very late. How come, or what was the reason that the leadership of Galka gave and the Electoral Commission, what were the reasons that they gave before they allowed these people to still vote?
Muftau, to be honest with you, the electoral body did not really say anything about it. When we first arrived here, it took a bit of time for the delegates to start arriving, and as soon as they did come, we started with the voting of the women's rep. Then from there, we just went straight to the men's rep. So we didn't really touch on these intricacies of the votes, Muftau.
Thanks, Mubarak. We appreciate your time. That's my colleague Mubarak Haruna providing us details of delegates casting their ballots to elect their leaders of the Ghana League Clubs Association. The League Clubs Association is a welfare body